What would you think if a decorated black special forces commander who risked his life for his country was treated like a thief simply because of his skin color? This is exactly what happened to Marcus Washington. The morning air in Charleston, South Carolina felt heavy with humidity as Marcus Washington stepped out of his modest brick home. At 45, the retired Navy SEAL commander carried himself with quiet dignity, back straight, movements measured, eyes alert. 20 years of military service had shaped not just his physique, but his entire being. 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq, and countless classified operations had earned him a Navy Cross and Purple Heart, though you wouldn't know it by looking at him in his simple polo shirt and khaki pants. Since retiring 2 years ago, Marcus had settled into a peaceful routine. He volunteered at the local veteran center, mentored troubled youth, and spent quiet evenings on his porch. He rarely spoke about his military career and never wore items that identified him as a veteran. "Your actions speak louder than any uniform," he often told the young vets he counseled. Today, Marcus needed a new laptop. His old one had finally given up after years of loyal service. Much like some of the men he commanded, he thought with a smile. He drove to Electromax, the high-end electronics store that had recently opened downtown. The gleaming glass storefront reflected the morning sun as Marcus parked his modest sedan and walked inside. The store hummed with activity. Salespeople in crisp blue shirts flitted between displays, demonstrating the latest gadgets to eager customers. Almost immediately, Marcus noticed a shift in atmosphere when he entered. A security guard near the door straightened, eyes tracking his movements. 2 salespeople glanced at each other, then away. Marcus had felt this subtle change countless times before, the invisible weight of suspicion that followed black men in spaces where they were assumed not to belong. Richard Thompson, the store manager, watched from behind the counter. In his 50s with thinning blonde hair and a perpetual frown, he nudged a nearby employee and whispered something. The young salesperson nodded and began following Marcus at a not-so-discreet distance. Marcus pretended not to notice as he examined the laptop displays. He knew exactly what he needed, a high-performance machine for the online courses he was taking. As he checked the specifications on an expensive model, he became aware of Richard hovering nearby. "Can I help you find something more affordable?" Richard asked, emphasizing the last word while glancing pointedly at Marcus's simple clothes. "I'm good, thanks," Marcus replied evenly. "This one suits my needs." Richard's eyebrows rose. "This is our premium model. Perhaps I could show you our basic options." Marcus felt the familiar heat of indignation rise in his chest, but kept his expression neutral. A skill honed through years of high-pressure military operations. "I like this one. I can afford it." By now, several customers were watching the interaction. An older white couple whispered to each other, clutching their shopping bag closer. A woman pulled her purse to the other side of her body as Marcus passed. "Sir, I'm going to need to see some ID and proof of income before we proceed," Richard said loudly. Marcus stopped. "Excuse me? You haven't asked anyone else in this store for proof of income." "Store policy for certain purchases," Richard replied, not meeting Marcus's eyes. "For certain customers, you mean?" Marcus said quietly, his voice level but firm. The tension in the store thickened. Richard's face flushed. "Sir, if you're going to cause trouble, I'll have to ask you to leave." Marcus didn't move. Years of commanding men in life or death situations had taught him to stand his ground with dignity. "I'm not causing trouble. I'm trying to make a purchase, and you're discriminating against me." Richard's demeanor changed instantly. "I'm going to have to check your backpack, sir. We've had theft issues recently." "No, you don't have the right to search my belongings without cause," Marcus replied calmly. "Then I'll call the police," Richard threatened, pulling out his phone. "We don't need your kind causing problems here." The words hung in the air like poison. Several customers looked uncomfortable, but no one intervened. Marcus felt a familiar ache, not of anger, but of disappointment. He'd faced enemy fire for a country where some people still judge him solely by his skin. "My kind," Marcus repeated softly. "And what kind would that be, sir?" Before Richard could answer, the store's entrance door opened and a tall, muscular white man in his 30s walked in. His eyes widened when he spotted Marcus. "Commander Washington," he called out, his voice filled with disbelief and respect. The store fell silent. Richard froze, phone still in hand. The newcomer strode over, standing at almost attention before Marcus. "Sir, I almost didn't recognize you in civilian clothes. It's Jason Miller. Sir, 3rd Squad under your command, Ramadi 2016. Marcus's face broke into a genuine smile. "At ease, Miller. Good to see you made it home in one piece." Jason turned to Richard, confusion evident on his face. "Is there a problem here?" Richard stammered. "This man, we have procedures." "This man," Jason interrupted, "is Commander Marcus Washington, one of the most decorated Navy SEAL officers in recent history. He led the operation that saved my unit when we were pinned down by enemy fire for 72 hours straight." Jason pulled up his sleeve, revealing a long scar. "He carried me 2 miles to extraction after I took a bullet, while still coordinating the rescue of 18 other men." The store had gone completely still. Every eye was fixed on Marcus, seeing him for the first time, not as a threat, but as a hero. "Commander Washington received the Navy Cross for that operation," Jason continued, his voice carrying through the silent store. "He's the reason I and many others got to come home to our families." Richard's face had drained of color. The phone in his hand slowly lowered. "And you're treating him like a criminal?" Jason asked incredulously. Marcus placed a hand on Jason's shoulder. "It's all right, Miller." But Jason wasn't finished. "No, sir, it's not. I watched you risk your life for men of every color. I've seen you make decisions that save hundreds of lives. You deserve better than this." Richard struggled to find words. I didn't know. We've had shoplifting incidents." "So you assumed the black man was a thief?" Marcus stated simply. No accusation in his tone, just a statement of fact. The security guard looked at the floor. The whispering couple seemed to shrink into themselves. The woman clutching her purse turned away, face flushed with shame. Marcus turned to Richard. "I could leave. I could report this incident. I could make things very difficult for you in this store." His voice remained measured, controlled, the same voice that had commanded men in battle. "Instead, I'm going to make a suggestion." Richard swallowed hard. "Yes. Your staff needs training on racial bias. Your security needs to learn the difference between actual suspicious behavior and just being black in public. And your store might consider donating to the Veteran Support Network downtown. They help servicemen and women of all backgrounds readjust to civilian life." Richard nodded quickly. "Yes, of course. Immediately. And your purchase today, on the house, please." Marcus shook his head. "I don't want it for free. I just want to be treated with the same respect you'd give any other customer." 1 month later, Electromax had implemented comprehensive anti-bias training. Richard, to his credit, had personally overseen the program's development and had reached out to local black business leaders for guidance. The store had donated $50,000 to the Veteran Support Network and established a hiring program specifically for veterans. Marcus now chairs a community committee addressing racial bias in local businesses. He still shops at Electromax occasionally. Richard greets him by name and with genuine respect. Not because he's a decorated war hero, but because he's a human being deserving of dignity. Sometimes the most powerful weapon against prejudice isn't outrage or vengeance, but the steady dignity of those who've already proven their worth in ways that shouldn't have been necessary. What unconscious biases might be affecting how you see others in your community? Share your thoughts below.